Hey everyone, this is Five of Clubs back with another episode of Simpleton Solos, a series in which a simpleton plays one of his favorite board games. Well, it's Mother's Day, so shout out to all the mothers out there, including my own. My own mother is one of the strongest women I know, so I felt inspired to play a game with similarly strong women for my next one, and totally not because it's notably similar to Friday, the last game I played. Today I'll be playing One Deck Dungeon, a small-form, dice-based fantasy dungeon delve game, largely driven by a single deck of cards. One Deck Dungeon is the closest game to Friday that I know of, except that the player's growth in this game involves a growing pool of dice and abilities instead of modifier cards. Aside from that, the core of both games are remarkably similar. Survive 3 increasingly difficult waves of opposition leading up to an ultimate final challenge. Don't be fooled by the travel-sized box though, as it belies a surprising density of gameplay due to some clever component design.
Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you?
Throughout the course of each game, you'll enjoy a complete dungeon delving experience, gaining XP to level up, gaining new skills and abilities, finding powerful potions, and building your dice pool to take on a big bad dungeon boss. Here's a brief overview of how the main gameplay works. At the start of the game, each player chooses one hero character sheet. In my playthrough today, I'll be playing as the warrior character, though I could have chosen the archer, the paladin, the mage, the rogue, or any other hero character from the game's standalone expansion, Forest of Shadows. Each hero has both a one-player side and a two-player side, so be sure to choose the side equal to the number of players participating in the game. Each hero also begins the game with one healing potion cube, represented by a potion token here in the tabletop simulator version. Every character sheet will display up to 2 unique traits or abilities that your hero may use, along with the starting health point value for your hero. In the warrior's case, she has 6 health points, as well as the frenzy and second wind abilities which I'll cover during gameplay. Each hero character sheet will also display a number of symbols that compose the hero's starting dice pool. Each yellow sword symbol corresponds to a yellow attack die, each pink foot symbol corresponds to a pink agility die, and each blue glyph symbol corresponds to 1 blue magic die. In the case of the warrior here, I will start with 4 yellow dice, 2 pink dice, and 1 blue die in my dice pool. Throughout the game, you will be revealing traps and monsters that you need to overcome by rolling your hero's dice and matching or exceeding value requirements outlined on the challenge. However, each challenge demands a certain mix of colored dice and their requirements, sometimes even in a certain order. Let's take the shadow enemy here. As you can see, the shadow enemy contains a rectangular pink box with a value of 10, a yellow box with a value of 5, and 3 blue boxes with values 3, 4, and 5 respectively. The perceptive of you may notice that these colors correlate to the colors of the symbols on your character sheet, and indeed they do. Each square space may have 1 die matching its color assigned to it, while rectangular spaces may accommodate any number of dice that match the color of that space. This shadow enemy, for example, would require me to roll a 5+ on the yellow die, a 3+ on a blue die, a 4+ on another blue die, and a 5+ on a third blue die, and a combined roll value of 10+ on any number of pink dice. Any boxes with the green shield icon, like the pink 10 here, must be completed before dice can be assigned to any other boxes. After you have assigned all the dice you can to a challenge, any boxes without dice assigned to them inflict the penalties listed in that box. For example, any blue boxes without dice assigned to them in this challenge would deal my hero 1 heart of damage and cost me 1 unit of time. Enemies may also have additional restrictions or impositions listed on their character cards, but you'll see plenty of examples of that during gameplay. After completing a challenge and taking any penalties for uncovered boxes, so long as you survive, the challenge is considered to have been overcome. Once you successfully overcome a trap or a monster, you get your choice of reward from that monster. You have 3 possible reward choices: a skill/ability/potion listed at the bottom of the card, an item listed on the left side of the card, or a number of XP listed on the top of the card. Skills/abilities/potions grant you dice modification abilities like rerolls, trades, and other boosts. Items grant you additional HP and/or dice for your dice pool, and XP allows you to level up, granting you a free potion, increased carrying capacity for items and skills, and eventual access to wild black dice. Which reward you take from each challenge will be up to your best judgment. With that, you're all caught up on the general idea of the game. Of course, this wasn't a comprehensive overview that covers all the intricacies and aspects of the full game experience, but the things I didn't cover here will be addressed during the playthrough as we go. But first, let's review the Simpleton strategy. Part 1. Don't die. Without following this bit of advice, the rest of the strategy means nothing. The warrior is pretty resilient, given her second wind ability that allows her to heal between dungeon floors, and health potions can help make up the difference. Health potions are the universal source of healing, but they do have a weird quirk in this game where you heal 3 health points if you drink one outside of an encounter, but only heal 2 if you drink one during an encounter. So definitely try to drink those outside of encounters when possible. Part 2. Caution can cripple, boldness can bolster, especially for the warrior. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's the best description for how I've found success in the game. Even challenges that appear impossible can grant valuable game-altering boons that ultimately offset the risks imposed by the penalties. Sometimes, if the reward is sweet enough, it can even be advantageous to take on challenges you can't possibly fill with your dice pool. Remember, the warrior has a passive heal between dungeon floors. You'll gain at least 3 more health potions throughout the course of the game as you level up, and you can find even more potions as rewards from encounters. Furthermore, the warrior gains wild dice every time she's damaged, which empowers her to convert current failings into future successes. However, don't go barreling into all the 4 XP minions from the start of floor 1 either. Part 3. And all I got was this lousy t-shirt. Particularly when you're at the end of the floor and the time ticking down starts dealing you damage, it can be tempting to squeeze every encounter out of a floor that you can for those juicy rewards. Generally, this could be a warranted strategy, but only when the payoff justifies the cost. Depending on where you are in your progression, the damage you would suffer for staying on a completed floor cleaning up rats and slimes might not be worth the measly rewards they offer. Most characters do not have the healing comforts of Second Wind to offset their life loss like the warrior can. I have a nasty habit of wanting to get all the things in this game, but prudence should be exercised or it can lead to ruin. In Part 4, Know Your Enemy. I usually play my first try against a boss totally blind to what colors or symbols the boss has, but after I see it once, I can't fully forget what I saw. Against some of the harder bosses of the game, it's almost essential to partly prioritize your build toward meeting the color box requirements of that boss. If you show up to the boss with a dice pool ill-equipped to handle his color box requirements, you'll trip at the finish line. And with that, you're all caught up on the basics of the game. So let's grab our gear and march valiantly into the Dungeon of the Dragon. Alrighty gamers, we are ready to descend into the one-deck dungeon. As you can see, we have our warrior on the one-player side. We have our 4 attack dice, 2 agility dice, and 1 magic die, as well as our 2 skills. We have a heroic feat down here that lets you roll any or all of your dice stored here. But how do you get dice there? Well, it tells you, store a wild here. For each damage you take, you may store up to 2 dice at a time. That is usable during combat encounters, trap encounters, but not the boss. Very, very helpful skill. She's sort of a berserker class where the more she gets hit, the more she's able to deal out in the future sort of thing. Then we also have a second wind ability, which is a passive. Whenever you descend floors, heal 2 damage. So that will certainly help offset any damages we take for our frenzy. Excellent. Today we are going to the Dragon's Cave. We are looking to find and slay ourselves a dragon. And the way that this works is essentially each boss will have modifiers that sort of contextualize the challenges of each floor and help scale the decks, or the dungeon deck here, since the dungeon deck itself doesn't scale on its own. So the way it works is that we are on floor 1. For all trap cards, we have 1 box here with the shield icon. The shield icon, as you may recall from the overview, are boxes that have to be filled before you can fill any other boxes for a challenge. So meaning, at the very least, you would need at least 2 dice to fill a trap to completion, or potentially more, depending on what the trap value itself is. For combat encounters, there's no shield here, so it's not required, but if you leave it uncovered, you're going to be suffering at least 1 wound. Not so good. Well, I guess it can be good, potentially, since, of course, we do have that heroic feat, but you don't want to get damaged too often. And then there is a little, not a passive ability in the middle, but essentially an ability that triggers at the start of each floor. It turns out the Hall of Statues makes you spend an extra 5 time before your first turn on each floor. It is about to be our first turn, so let's go ahead and spend 5 time. The way that you spend time in this game is by discarding cards from this dungeon deck. And the dungeon deck, as you can see, will deplete. That's before we've even gotten any monsters or skills or anything else out yet. So this deck will deplete progressively throughout the course of this floor of the dungeon until we eventually reach the stairs to the next floor, and we'll cover that when we get there. Alright, before you do any sort of exploring of doors or finding new doors, you have to spend 2 time at the start of your turn. So go ahead and we will find 4 doors. Now, we don't know what are behind these doors yet because that deck is shuffled. It's not stacked in any sort of specific way to scale for where you are in level. But that's part of the fun. Okay, so we have 4 doors to pick from. We need to spend 2 time to see what is behind door number 1. It is a beetle enemy indeed. It has the survivor trait, excuse me. If any armor boxes are empty, discard this card instead of looting. Yes, so normally in the game, even if you don't fill in a single box in a challenge, as long as you can survive all the penalties that the challenge card gives you, then you will be able to actually get the reward. I guess the idea is that you still get the job done, you just don't do it as competently as perhaps is preferred. But in this case, this guy is an exception. If you don't fill in all those shield boxes, then unfortunately you skip the looting phase and you don't get to get any of his rewards. Meaning we need at least 2 of these pink dice in these colors. We need at least 1 5 in our yellow. We are pretty good at the yellow. Unfortunately, it's the one that has the least amount of required shields in it. Well, I guess tied with the magic die, where we'd have to get a 3 or more. Interesting. I would feel a bit more comfortable if we had some extra dice from our frenzy skill to fall back on. So I think we're going to leave him alone for right now so that we don't blow it, essentially. So let's spend 2 time and let's go ahead and look behind door number 2. Okay. So we have a spiked logs. This is our first trap. This card up here, as you can see, has something to do with all 3 of the symbol types and all 3 of the dice types. This one over here is more of a choice. You can either do this skill check, sort of like in an RPG where you're figuring out how to deal with problems. Our characters decided they can clobber the swinging spiked logs using their attack dice, or they can try to dodge them using agility dice. We're much better at attacking, so I'm certainly considering this one. But usually if you take the top skill check, you have to take a precursor penalty. So essentially we'd have to spend 2 more time than otherwise. Down here, you wouldn't spend any precursor time. Let's go ahead and do that. It's just 2 time. Let's see if we can't make ourselves a bit safer here. So let's go ahead and roll our 4 strength dice. Now, against this guy, you get to roll all your dice, or against combat encounters in general. You get to roll all your dice in case you want to trigger skills. Against traps, though, you only roll the color that is specified on the skill check, and then any wild dice that apply as well. Okay. Alright, sure enough, here we go. 5 and 3 is 8. Then we can apply this 6 to that shield spot, which would have to be filled before technically any stuff applied here would count. Excuse me. So, in this case, we have successfully completed the clobber logs check here, meaning we get to enjoy one of these delicious benefits. We can get 3 XP, which according to our level 1 card, we need 6 XP to get to level 2. At level 1, we are allowed to have 1 item and up to 2 skills. Items are the things that grant you additional symbols which build your dice pool. In this case, if I took this for its item value, I would get 1 more agility die in my pool, bringing me up to 3. If I take the XP, of course, I'm halfway to leveling up. And then there's a skill down here of Cleave. During combat encounters, I can discard 1 of my attack dice to increase up to 4 of my dice by 1 each. That is super good. We have a proclivity for attack dice skills anyway, since we have so many of these attack dice from the get-go. I think that will be a good investment for our long-term strategy. Alrighty. Very good. Let's go ahead and spend 2 more time. We could go encounter the beetle now, but he's not going anywhere. He's going to be right there. Let's go ahead and see what else we can get. A fire elemental. He has 4 XP that he is offering. Normally you can tell sort of how difficult an enemy is going to be by how much XP is in that corner there. However, the rewards for difficult enemies also tend to be rather good. Indeed, here we have plus 1 max HP, and you would get a magic die. That would bring us from 1 magic die in our pool to 2. 4 XP brings us most of the way to leveling up, and then this skill down here, if I trade 1 agility die, change any or all of your dice to roll results of 4. Interesting, but only in combat encounters. And then he has the Flames trait. Before the encounter, you get to place a wound on your hero, and already he looks like he is potentially going to clobber us. We only have 1 magic die, and this guy is requiring a lot of magic. We could just armor through it and take a bunch of wounds, because we do have one health potion that'll help us heal for 3, and we heal 2 between dungeon floors. Essentially, we could do like a calculated investment. Essentially, we take potentially a bunch of damage now for a payoff in the long run, as it empowers us with more health and more magic dice to complete other challenges. And we wouldn't have to waste 2 more time going to another room. I'm not feeling too comfortable on that. I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 more time to look at this skeleton. Okay. Ah, darn. So he has 2 magic shield boxes. We only have 1 magic dice. We already know there's going to be 3. There's 3 yellow ones, and there's the 4th one up here because we are in the dragon's cave. None of these are incredibly set up for, but let us not forget we have our cleave ability. So let's go ahead and give this a try. And I know that seems insane, given that we have 2 shield boxes of a color we don't have, but that's because
I know something you don't know. And what is that?
Potentially. All right, let's give it a roll. Ooh, we really knocked it out of the park with these yellows here. We killed it with the yellows. But before we can do yellows, getting ahead of myself, we need to, of course, assign stuff to those shield boxes. We are out of blues. Clearly, we're about to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 time and 3 damage, right? No, actually, we're not going to do that. You have the ability at any time to trade any 2 dice for a black die equal to the lower value of the dice that you discard in this case. So, in this case, I am going to get a 3 in the black, because the lower value between these 2 discarded dice is 3, and the black is a wild suit, so I can set the black right there. Boom. That's how it's done. Okay, and then let us assign the rest of these yellows. There we go. So something that initially looked impossible, now we can see, proved itself to be more possible than potentially we thought. Very good. The only box we left uncovered is this 5. And unfortunately, the Undying trait means if any boxes are empty, spend 2 times. So we actually, instead of losing 1 time, we're going to lose 3 time. 1, 2, and 3. And we will get 1 wound, which is our first wound of the game. Oh, sorry, I forgot to bring this down. There we are. We have 1 wound, but with that 1 wound, because of our heroic feat, we now get to place 1 of these black dice here, and we get to store it for a future challenge. Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and get all of our goodies back here. I think 1 more is up here. Excellent. Yes, and let's get a reward, shall we? Unfortunately, let's see. So we have 1 skill, so we could get this other one, which is actually another potion. This potion, you spend 2 time before an encounter, skip to the claim loot phase. Fascinating. So, the nice thing about that, if we got this, not only would we get another potion, we have 1 already, right here. We would get another potion, and we could drink it to, like, instantly beat this guy, who we have very little chance of actually beating right now, with our own merits. Normally, I don't go for potions, but in this particular case, I think that might be a worthy investment. I know we've used a lot of time, but I think actually that works out in a rather interesting way. So let's clone that. We got another potion. Okay, we have to spend 2 time at the start here, and that means we get to pick something to fight, or we can discover 2 more doors. I think we're going to fight something. I think we are going to fight this fire elemental. Now, in order to do that, though, I'm not actually going to fight him at all. I'm going to drink this potion. Glug, glug, glug. Spend 2 time before the encounter. Skip to the claim loot phase. Yeah, that's right, guy. I'm not taking your flame damage or any of that nonsense. Alright, so given that, we have quite the choices here. We could do this to change any or all of our dice into 4s during combat encounters, but in order to do that, we would have to give up 1 of these here because we have a limit down here of 2. We could get 4 XP, which brings us most of the way to level 2. Or we could get this extra health and the magic die. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. These dice are blocking the way. Let's go ahead and move them out of the way. There we go. And as you can see, it slots in right there, giving us 2 magical glyph symbols. So I will get myself another magic die. There we go. to add to our pool going forward. And again, another max health. So instead of the 6, we now have a pool of 7. Very good. All right, we have to spend 2 more time. It is the start of our turn. We could go try and fight the beetle. We do have 1 die on our heroic feat, and we just got another magic die. We could do that. Or, theoretically, we could drink another potion and skip to the encounter phase, but I really don't think that makes a lot of sense. Again, I think that beetle's going to hang out right there. Let's go ahead and try and power up a little bit more. So we spent our 2 time, meaning we now get to add 3 more doors to replace the ones that we've explored. 2 time goes over there, and we can explore one of these 3. How about this one? Nope. Another fire elemental. What?
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Another guy. Man, we just got rid of your brother, dude. Okay. Well, so we have another fire elemental. We could just drink our other potion and skip straight to that rewards phase. If we wanted to. We could do that. It would give us either 4 XP. This item, unfortunately, we have an item limit of 1 because we're at level 1. So that wouldn't be any good. And then this skill down here, gain a magic 6. You can only use it as mana for a spell, which I don't currently have any spells yet. So that skill would, 1, it would have to replace one of the skills I have, and 2, not that great yet. How's about we drink this potion, skip to the rewards phase, and we take it for the XP here and just get ourselves 4 XP on the way toward our 6. Okay. And that's going to spend 2 time. Alright, and then it's the start of our turn. We spend 2 more time. Let's go ahead and look in here. A Wraith. Oh my goodness. We are getting all of my least favorite ones right out the gate. He has a precursor ability, Drain. Before you encounter, convert 1 item straight to XP. No fun. And the item he would convert would take away our magic die, which we need magic dice really because of the fact that there's that shield box or rectangular box. His rewards aren't even that good. That's the worst part about him. I'm not going to mess with that guy. I'm going to leave him right the heck alone. Clobber log, spiked log. Yes, okay. We're back in the comfort zone. We've got clobber and logs. We have proved ourselves adept at clobber and logs. I think we can prove ourselves once more adept at clobbering some logs. So let's go ahead and roll our 3 dice here. We have a 5, and we have a 3, which is 8. And we have a 3 to apply to the shield box of 2 that technically needed to be filled before the others. Alright, so that is enough to clobber those logs successfully. In fact, we even had 1 to spare. Alright, excellent. We have clobbered some logs. What do we got? We have 3 XP. Not bad. We have an item. Not that great because it would replace the one we have. And we have this one here. If skill, if you trade a 4 of magic die, gain a 4 of attack and 4 of agility, then increase one of your dice by 1. Interesting. That actually is pretty interesting. However, I know that if I just take this as XP right now, that's going to give us 7 XP. And we need... Uh-oh. Sorry there, buddy. Come on back. We needed 6 XP. I'm not sure. I think you just lose any extra XP between levels. At least that seems to be the cleanest way to track it. I could be wrong. You may actually, the game may be kind and actually let you keep leftover XP, but I've never actually run into a problem with that. I will play as though you just lose whatever the deficit is, because I don't see any tokens or anything to track XP. Alright, so we're at level 2, so we get a few things. 1, we get boosted plateaus for our item and skill requirements. We can have up to 3 items. We have up to three skills, excuse me. We get a new potion for reaching level 2, so let's go ahead and get one of those. There we are. And now this potion can either be used to heal or it can be used for that invisibility trick. Very neat. And then this right here is the golden jewel of leveling up. We now get 1 permanent wild die in our arsenal of dice to roll. Very good. Okay, so we get to roll that against challenges of any kind, if they're combat, if they're traps, or even if they're a boss. Excellent. Alright, so we have leveled up, feeling fine. let's go ahead and spend 2 more time. Well, what is this? We actually have run out of time. How are we supposed to lose time now? Well, the way it works now is when the stairs are revealed, you are able to descend into deeper levels of the dungeon, but you do not have to do so immediately. Instead, time is now tracked by putting wound tokens on the stairs card. And every time one time unit passes, you will add more of these here. Once this reaches 3 tokens threshold, then you will remove all of these, and then you gain 1 wound. Basically, it's the way for the game to push you on into deeper levels of the dungeon, so you don't just kind of farm on easier floors and optimize them exactly well without risking your well-being in future floors. All right, so let's go ahead and put that one back because that is supposed to be there. Now, before we descend, there's no more exploring to be done here. We cannot draw any more cards to fill in these empty slots. We could fight the beetle, or we could fight the wraith. I'm not really feeling like fighting the wraith and losing this lovely item. That seems terrible. Maybe we can fight the beetle. We do have our black die here, and we can utilize the one from our heroic feat. Using all these dice, perhaps we can fill in all of those shield boxes. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, excellent. So this 5 we can probably slot right there. Then we have a 6. I guess we'll slot that right there. We have a 3. Slot that there. We don't have any sort of a 5 here in the yellow. That's not good. However, we do have our cleave skill. We can increase up to 4 of our dice by 1 each, which certainly could pay dividends in helping us fill that box. I mean, I guess we could put that there. I really was hoping to actually use it here if possible. And that's a 3. Yes, it is. I have an idea. All right, I'm going to trade both of these 3s for a black 3. So we'll set that right there. Excellent. And then I'm going to trade this 6 and this 5 for a black 5, which I will set right here. Excellent. And then all that's left is just this 3 over here and this 4 over here. Now, we're at 2, which is 1 shy. Thankfully, we have this skill down here. I could discard it to increase up to 4 of my dice by 1 each. Let's discard this one to bring this to a 3, that to a 2. I mean, I guess I could, you know, do something like that, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Let's go ahead and slap that right there. So, we now have covered all of the armor boxes, so we are going to see dividends positively as far as rewards. We have 2 time to lose, which is going to trigger that 3rd time, which means, like I said, we are going to take 1 wound. But that's okay, because if you recall, when we descend, we heal 2 damage passively anyway, and taking that wound, joke's on you, dude. I get a heroic feat die. Excellent. Alright. And of course, we do have our normal die. Let's just make sure to gather all of our dice again. I think I'm missing 1 yellow die. Oh, it's up here. Yes. Excellent. Alright, these 2 will return to their pool, and we get to decide which reward we want here. Now, we can hold up to 3 items and 3 skills, so we could, if we wanted, get yet a 3rd magic die. Excuse me. I don't know that we want to do that exactly. This crushing blow thing, however, is really good. So you trade out 1 yellow die, which we are positively inclined towards those, given that we are a warrior, and you basically just get to convert it straight to a 6. So, like this 1, for example, or maybe 2s or 3s, you could just say, that's a 6 now. And 2 XP is not very consequential toward leveling up, so let's go ahead and get our crushing blow skill. Go under, please. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, I might be breaking the mod. Indeed. These... Oh, man, the days when... Oh! Excellent! Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Not sure why that was such a struggle. Goodness, the second that I have a proper physical component play set up will be quite a relief. Okay, So we have concluded that encounter. We got our new skill. So now we have multiple skills that we can trigger based off of our yellow abilities. But we have a choice to make. Do we want to stay on this floor and fight this wraith, losing our epic fire elemental thing, or do we want to just descend to floor 2? And in this case, I think I am going to descend to floor 2, which is going to heal me 2 of those. And I think we will actually pause it right there. Just to give you an idea of what's going to happen for floor 2, these floor 1 things that were plaguing us before, those are still going to plague us, but in addition to these now. So for traps, we now have this box to deal with, and now these second boxes. And for combat encounters, you get this one instead. And we still have the Hall of Statues thing that's going to go ahead and spend 5 time right out of the gate. But in the meantime, looking at our character right now, we have 3 items. We have leveled up once, getting our first wild die. Ooh, spoilers. We might potentially see more. We have 1 die locked away in Heroic Feat, and we have a pretty good item giving us an extra health. And actually, we finished the floor with no damage and a potion to spare. How about that? So when you finish a floor, you do put anyone who's still out there together. You'll shuffle these, and then we will put this right back on top to start floor number 2 in the next episode.